Football is awesome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Friday Night Roots. I'm your host, Justin Thomas, and let's get into it. Do me a huge favor before we start this video. Like the video, share this video, subscribe if you can. I appreciate all the love you guys can give. I'll take what I can get. As you can see, I'm back home, and I'm just so excited to do this video. This is a video I've been kind of just waiting to do kind of all week, just because I know the implications and how serious the games are coming up on Sunday. So in this video, I'll be previewing both divisional round games coming up on January 19th here, the earlier game and the primetime game between the Bills and the Ravens. So yeah, let's just kind of jump into it. So the Rams are going to travel to the Link, headed out to Philly to take on the Eagles. Let's kind of jump into this awesome Week 20 matchup. I'm super pumped. I'll kind of start on the Philly side. I'll go back and forth, but I'll start on the Philly side. Philly's really won the last 13 of 14, so something to keep a note of. And then these two teams did actually meet this regular season. They met in Week 12, where the Rams ultimately fell 37-20. But I want to highlight a few things about that game. The Rams actually went 8-0 on third down, and Philly had 5 sacks, on the Rams Week 12. So something to keep in mind. I'm sure the Rams are watching tape and trying to mitigate those problems from the Eagles. And I just don't see the Eagles, hopefully having as good of a defensive game this time. But something we can't forget is during that Week 12 Rams-Eagles matchup, Saquon Barkley had 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 47 receiving yards. That is fucking insane. So I'm sure the Rams are taking a lot of notes on how to prevent that from happening. And Philly's had 100-plus rush yards, 7 of the last 8 games. I really think Philly's just a run-first offense at this point. Just with Kellen Moore, I think they're just a run-first offense. At this moment in time, Jalen, even though his rating has been pretty good, stayed over 100, I think, relatively, he's only thrown for like 130, 150 yards a game. So the Eagles are just trying to run the ball, and I think ultimately having Saquon Barkley has changed the Eagles team, because I think Jalen's good, but Jalen throws a lot of moon balls that just end up getting intercepted. But now they've kind of taken that away. Now that they can run the football, gives A.J. Smith and Devontae Smith a little more time to get open and set up the pass. So anyway, I think, and then to kind of shift over to the Rams have held the last 4 what I would call meaningful opponents under 10 points. So the Rams defense on the back end has really, really started to heat up, and it's really kept their team going. The Philly offense, though, going into this game is going to be, is sitting right around 22 points per game. That puts them at 7th in the NFL. I think the Rams ultimately need to force the Eagles to throw the football. If they just let Saquon run all day, it's going to be a long day, because then that sets up play action, that sets up the check down. They really need to stop Saquon, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'll probably say it another 4 times in this video, but huge thing. Something, a bright spot on the Rams defense, like I said, that they're really getting hot at the latter half of the year here. The Rams got 9 sacks versus the Vikings. 9. So if they can play with that kind of energy, Jared Verse, that awesome D-line they've been doing, if they can play with that kind of energy and put the pressure, if they can play with that, put the pressure on Jalen Hurts and stop Saquon, they have a chance. I would call Eagles' passing game really just a side piece. They're not your main chick. It's really just a side piece to that offense, just because of how good Saquon Barkley's been. Like I said, Jalen does have a 100-plus rate in the last 3 games, but just not many yards, and that's something to look out for. I've seen games where if the Eagles get behind and it's put on Jalen, I've seen Jalen turn into a pumpkin many times. Being a Niners fan, watching a lot of NFC football games, it could happen. It totally could happen. Rams defense shut Justin Jefferson down to only 58 yards last week, Addison to 29 yards, and it had Darnold, sitting under 7 yards per attempt. So, like I said, that heating up defense is super exciting. I'm not trying to overhype the Rams defense. I'm not going to call it one of the best. It's still a young defense that has a lot of promising talent and is playing really well, but can they maintain that through the divisional round? This is where football gets good. So, everyone's going to put up their best, and it'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes for them. The Philly defense, do I need to say much? 17.8 points per game. They're second. They had 4 takeaways against the Packers. I'll give him, 2 or 3 of those. Jordan Love really just tossed some moon balls up and gave it to him, but I digress. The Philly secondary is unreal. One of the best in football right now. So I'm sure, the Rams are also themselves going to try and run the football because Kupp's just a blocker, and Puka's going to, ultimately find the spaces in the zone. So, Rams offense still accounted for under 20 points, in that game, but they did a little better on third down. They were 2 for 8 on third down, not 0 for 8 on third down. So I guess the third down's improving, but the Rams really need to improve on third down if they're going to make this game, make this game worthy. And not only that, their offense needs to score for more than 20 points. Kind of a side piece or a key player I think the Eagles are really going to have to monitor is Higbee. I think given the lack of offensive weapons, I wouldn't say that. I think the Rams are just a well-coached team. I don't think they're stacked in any way. Maybe on the defensive line with all those young guys and what the future potential could be. But, yeah, so, Philly needs to monitor Higbee. Cooper Kupp has just been under 4 straight targets the last 4 games, so I don't anticipate him doing anything exciting. But all it takes is that one game-changing play down the field, and Cooper Kupp's definitely capable of that. Let's not forget that. Puka, I don't need to talk much about him. He'll be open. He'll get probably 9 catches for – last week he didn't have that many yards, but maybe this week he will. He'll get 10 catches for 75 to 100 yards, I assume. It's kind of what he usually sits around. And let's not forget last week, too, Philly's secondary didn't allow a single touchdown. The few touchdowns or the one touchdown the Packers did get was Josh Jacobs, and he was just putting the Packers on his back, if you recall. So, I think the Rams can have a lot of success running the football against the Eagles. The Eagles gave up 81 yards to Josh Jacobs and a touchdown. I know Josh Jacobs is probably more of a bruiser back, a heavy back that's going to put his head down and put his head in your chest and run you over, whereas Kyrie's a little more shifty, so I'm not sure how that'll translate to the Eagles-Rams matchup, but I think if Sean McVay runs the ball properly, I think Kyrie could have a big game because I'm not saying the Eagles' defense is bad in any way. They're still a fantastic D-line, but that secondary is what really the star of the show when it comes to the Eagles' defense. Kyrie Williams this year, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns. Like I said, he'll be still a menace to deal with. And then let's not forget, though, the Philly did lose linebacker Nakobe Dean. He'll be out for this game. So just another thing to keep note of. This is the 4th time these teams are meeting in the postseason. So they've played 3 other times before this. Rams are 2-1 against the Eagles, so maybe the Eagles can make it 2-2 and make this matchup all the better for the future. So keys to victory for me: Rams need to run the ball. The Philly secondary is just too good. The Rams need to run the ball, and I know I say it, I'm going to beat it like a dead horse. I probably will every day of my life. Run the football. LA needs to stop Saquon Barkley. If LA can stop Saquon Barkley, they have a chance. If they don't stop Saquon, if Saquon has, 50 to 75 yards in the first half, that might be it, boys. That might be it. I just don't think I can't see the Rams recovering from not stopping Saquon Barkley. But what I can see is if they force Jalen to throw, I could see the Eagles having a long, frustrating game, especially with all the diva receivers Jalen Hurts has around him, A.J. Brown, who's a diva, but own the trenches or you lose. Simple as that. And then, Jalen and obviously his wide receivers aren't the hottest at right now, so keep an eye for that. Just force him to throw it, put him in uncomfortable situations, and ultimately sack the guy. My final prediction for the Rams-Eagles games, I got 24-20 Rams. I'm going with the upset. I can't not go with the upset. I just love to see the Rams take this game and ultimately put their stamp on it, but I'm realistic when it comes to talking about it. So anyway, let's jump over to the most exciting game of the weekend, the game I'm just ready to rock and roll on. Let's talk about the Ravens at the Bills for this divisional round. Also, Sunday, January 19th. This is going to be the primetime game, so it'll be the later game. I'm just so pumped for this game. It's going to be so awesome. Let's just start. Ravens are hard to stop. And that goes back to the run game. It goes back to Derrick Henry. I know, shocker, everybody. But Bills have won 11 of the last 13. I'm just more excited for the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. This is their 5th time meeting. It's 5th time meeting overall. And they're both the top 2 MVP candidates. I think Lamar's still leading in the odds, but top 2 MVP candidates. That's just going to make this game so exciting. I don't want to sound cliche by any means. It will come down to the quarterbacks, but I think there will be other factors that, have a big impact in this game. So Lamar's had 60 plus rushing the last 3 games. Josh Allen's had, 100 plus rate 5 of the last 6 games. So these quarterbacks are just slinging it. They're playing accurate football. Josh Allen last week had like 270 against the Broncos and 2 touchdowns with almost a perfect passer rating. Let's not forget though, these teams did play each other in week 4. Now I know that was a really long time ago, like months and months ago. And I'm sure to those players, it seems like it happened 2 years ago. But they did play each other week 4. Buffalo ended up losing 35-10, and kind of similar to the Rams-Eagles game. Derrick Henry had 200 yards, 8.3 yards per carry that game. So what does Buffalo have to do? Buffalo has to stop Derrick Henry. I know, beating a dead horse. Eagles add to that. They're 11-0 when Henry gets 90 plus yards. Slow him down. If you don't slow him down, that's going to be it. I just think, but I did read that the first time that they played, Buffalo didn't have both starting linebackers. They didn't have either of them, and they're nickel. So when they met in week 4, so I think that could have a huge impact on how the defense plays against the run. Buffalo, of course, Buffalo kind of need Josh Allen to have big plays, and if Josh Allen can have those big plays, they can stay in this game, and I think they can do a really good job. I know Buffalo has like around a top 10 O-line. So if they can keep the Eagles, pretty good O-line or D-line at bay, they might have a shot. Ravens have 5 straight wins with 28 plus points. So that's a little alarming. Like I said, defense. But Buffalo did hold Knicks to 144 yards. So maybe that's a bright spot, but I also just think that the Broncos just aren't equipped as a football team due to all the dead cap they were dealing with. But I think that at some point that Broncos team will be good. Sorry, that's irrelevant. Lamar's had like 2+ touchdowns in the last 7 games, and he's had 1 interception on the road this year. That's fucking an insane stat. Zay Flowers is still questionable to return, but I think he's doubtful. His knee's pretty banged up, and he didn't practice today as of Friday. I checked. Adam Schefter reported did not practice today, so that's a huge thing to keep an eye out on. Buffalo's D-line sucks. Straight up. They've only had like 39 sacks, which is like 18th. So I shouldn't say they suck, but they're middle of the pack at best. Baltimore's defense has held all their opponents under 18 points in the last 5. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that it's still obviously, Ravens friendly game for me, but who knows? Maybe Josh Allen can put on a Superman cape like he does a lot of times and win that football game. So Baltimore's the second most sacked in 2024. Baltimore's defense, has the second most sacks in 2024. Then they had 4 versus Steelers, which is nothing to slouch over. Baltimore did give up. For those who did watch that game last week, Baltimore did give up 270 yards and 2 touchdowns to the Steelers. So their secondary is a little shaky, and had them having the Buffalo Bills having Josh Allen, could be a big deal. And as long as he can spread them apart, I know the Bills' receiver weapons aren't the greatest. I know Curtis Samuel's kind of a novelty Easter egg player you see every once in a while, but Shakir, Keon Coleman catching some balls, so maybe they'll have an impact. I just think Baltimore's secondary has been so-so in 2024 at best. I think Buffalo, Khalil Shakir, he leads the team in targets and yards. Not surprised there. He's kind of the main guy over there. A key matchup I'm really excited to see is Roquan Smith versus James Cook. James Cook last week, I know James Cook leads the NFL in touchdowns with like 16, and James Cook last week versus Denver had 120 yards and 5 points. He's rocking 5.2 yards to carry, which is huge. In the history of these two meetings, Lamar Jackson has been okay versus Buffalo. He's at 100+ passer rating in 2 of the 4 outings, so 50-50. It's a mixed emotions for Lamar when it comes to playing Buffalo. So Lamar is 0-1 in the playoffs, though, when he meet versus the Bills. 2-2 overall in the all-time meetings outside of the postseason, but in the playoffs, Lamar is down 1 game to Josh Allen. So let's see if Lamar can use that motivation and just end up taking it back and go 1-1 in the playoffs with Josh Allen. I think that game was I think they played each other in the 2020 divisional game, so similar situation. The Bills ended up beating them like 17-3, but that kind of goes back to Lamar, not throwing the football and kind of getting away, or not running the football and getting away from what the Ravens are typically known for. Keys to victory for this game, I think Buffalo needs to stop Derrick Henry. I think they need to at least slow him down. 200 yards in that week 4 matchup is just unacceptable. You can't give a guy 200 and expect to win. He's just going to kill clock. He's going to kill time of possession. And if they score on those drives, you're just going to lose that football game unless you're scoring at the exact same rate. So, Buffalo needs to run the ball to give Josh Allen some time. Obviously, Josh Allen is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks, just like Lamar Jackson. Get the game going with James Cook. Sometimes I feel like the Bills forget that James Cook's even there, and I'm like, guys, you have I'm not saying he's going to say a monster running back, but he's good. And like last week, you put up 120, 5 yards a carry. If you get 5 yards every carry, that's a good week. So I'm just saying, do that, spread the team out, give Josh Allen some time back there. Buffalo needs to contain Lamar Jackson. One of my biggest pet peeves, playing football in high school and playing defense sometimes is contain, right? When those ends get too deep and, opens a lane for the quarterback or the inside guys run a stunt and they open a semi-truck wide lane for the quarterback to run through, you've got to contain Lamar Jackson. But it's hard to pin your ears back and also contain a quarterback at the same time, do a full bull rush, because you could run right past him, and Lamar's one of the slipperiest quarterbacks out there. You got to contain him to the pocket or do your best to. Like I said, he's had a bunch of rushing yards the last couple games. So, and keys to win for Baltimore, put pressure on Josh. Josh is it. That's all. I mean, I'm not saying he's it, but he's the best weapon he carries, as I talk about in the past. He carries that franchise. I'm not saying Cook and Shakir and Curtis and Coleman aren't doing it, but I think Sean McDermott's okay of a coach. I think he's nothing special. He's almost been on the hot seat a few times. And if he doesn't win this game, he could be on the hot seat again. I just think, put pressure on Josh. Don't let him pull out his Superman cape and vice versa. Don't let Lamar pull out his. Otherwise, it's just going to be a long game. Keep Henry from running the ball all over you. And Baltimore, another key to success for them, limit big plays from Josh, ground or air. Limit him from running over your safeties and linebackers and putting his shoulder down and making your defense look stupid. Limit those plays. Josh Allen can make big plays with his arm too. He's got a cannon. So another thing there. All right, prediction for this game. I think my prediction for this game is going to be, I don't want to take, I got Ravens 28-27. I got a nail biter on this one. I personally want the Bills to win this one. I just think the Bills are so deserving. They haven't been to the playoffs as often as the Ravens. Let's just see if Lamar or Josh Allen turn into a pumpkin in January. Both of those guys have just been losing to the Bengals or the Chiefs in the postseason in these random games, or they have games where they get away from the run and they're passing it 40 times in a playoff game, and it's hard to win that way ultimately. The only team I've seen pass 40 times every game and to be all right is the Lions. So, I got Ravens 28-27. So that's it for those. I'm so excited for this weekend and those games. Let me know down in the comments where you think I was right, where you think I was wrong. Let me know what you think. And then tomorrow after the Texans, Chiefs, and Commanders, Lions game, I'll be reacting to those as well. So you'll get a reaction video to those, and then Sunday you'll get a reaction video to the games I'm talking about today. Not much other news going around the NFL today. The only other news I really saw was I saw the Dolphins are going to host the first NFL game in Madrid. I'm one of those NFL fans who's not a huge fan of overseas games. I just don't like them. I think if I put myself in a player's position and my coach was like, hey, by the way, you're going to go play plus 12 hours or plus 9 hours ahead in Europe, I don't know, man. I just think that even if you're there for a week, it could give you a really unfair advantage. And I'm not saying that it's not good for the sport. It's not good for the culture of the NFL. It's not good for the global awareness. Sure, that's fine. I get it. But I just know if I was a player, I'm not going to enjoy that. Madrid's fine. Spain's cool. But yeah, that's it. So other than that, super appreciate you guys. Super excited to watch these games. Get some good food this weekend. Sit on your couch, pig out, watch some good football. And at the end of the day, make sure you check out the video. As always, let's talk some ball. Love ya.